Hey Canucks fans, hope you're well. The Canucks had a full practice this morning as they prepare for Game 1 of their second round series versus the Edmonton Oilers this Wednesday. I have a few things I want to say, just general things, small tidbits I want to say about the series, about what I'm feeling right now, about what the Canucks players and coaches are feeling right now. So let's get into it. Firstly, no surprises in the way that they ran their drills today. Exact same alignment that we saw for basically the entire Nashville series. So your lines were Miller with Bester and Suter, Pettersson, Mikheyev, and Höglander, Lindholm between Joshua and Garland, and then a fourth line of Blueger, Phil DiGiuseppe, and Sam Lafferty. That means Neil Zaman was once again the 13th forward. Same D-core, Hughes, Hronek, Susie Myers, Zadorov, and Cole, and that means Friedman and Juleson were the two extra defensemen. And then three goalies on the ice. You had Artur Shilovs, you had Casey DeSmith, and you had, not Thatcher Demko, Nikita Tolopilo. So no surprises there. Looks like they're not going to change anything up, at least not right now. So it looks like it's going to be the same 18 skaters unless something changes prior to Wednesday. When it comes to goaltending, my guess is they go with Shilovs, given how well he closed out the Nashville series. And you kind of got to ride the hot hand, I think. As I mentioned on my stream last night, there's no question in my mind that when Demko's ready, when he's healthy, whenever that is, he gets his net back for sure. But until then, I actually would go Shilovs over DeSmith. Now, Elliot Friedman was on Donnie and Dolly talking about Thatcher Demko, and they basically said, hey, what are you hearing, Elliot, about when Thatcher Demko can come back? And Elliot Friedman basically talked about how in the playoffs, everyone lies. They weren't sure if Sergachev was going to even play in the playoffs, and then boom, he's there for Game 4 of the first round. They talked about other examples where they say guys aren't going to play or it's going to be very questionable. And then boom, they show up, not so much to surprise the other team, but rather to spark their own team. So Elliot Friedman thinks the earliest for Thatcher Demko is going to be the middle or the end of this round 2, but it could be, he might not even make it into the lineup. I don't think it's going to be any earlier. It's not like we're going to see him leave the team out, on the ice on Wednesday night or anything like that. So if anything, it would be mid to late round for this round, but that's the optimistic way of looking at it. A lot has been said about how the Edmonton Oilers are favorites. They're the favorites in the betting markets. They're the favorites basically on every list that you see where experts and media and coaches and players and scouts and executives are predicting the series. And, it doesn't surprise me given that Edmonton was the better team down the stretch, given that Edmonton has more playoff experience, given that Edmonton has Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And people rightfully don't put a lot of stock into the fact that the Canucks beat the Oilers all 4 times in the regular season. Now, remember, 3 of them were in the first 3 weeks of the season. That was before Jay Woodcroft got fired. So definitely the Oilers are a different team than that. But I would say the Canucks are a different team too. Since then, they've added guys like Lindholm, like Zadorov. And by the way, Lindholm and Zadorov, remember, 2 former Flames who are used to playing against McDavid, Draisaitl, and the rest of them. So, some people are trying to build up this underdog narrative, the fact that everyone is picking against the Vancouver Canucks. But you know what I was impressed with? Both JT Miller and Quinn Hughes yesterday in their media availability, they said they don't play into that. They don't need the underdog stigma or whatever for motivation. They certainly weren't proclaiming that they were the favorites over the Edmonton Oilers, but both JT Miller and Quinn Hughes basically said that's not a narrative that we need to motivate us. We're motivated by the fact that we're playing in the second round and we have a chance to advance. So I've been really impressed with JT Miller, really impressed with Quinn Hughes, just the business-like mentality that they have in all of their interviews. You can tell that this team, while they're happy to obviously advance, that they know that their journey is just getting started, as evidenced by that 16 puck tree that they're building up every time that they win. And obviously they've filled 4 of those spots on that puck tree. That's the worst explanation, but you guys know what I mean. Like they place in the locker room, they place a puck into the structure every time they win, and they got to do that 16 times to win the Stanley Cup. Now, yesterday in my stream, I talked about 5 factors that I think the Canucks are going to be key for them to beat the Edmonton Oilers. And it was kind of fun exercise. In the stream, I asked people to kind of agree or disagree, or at least gauge, try and rate how much of a factor these 5 things are going to be. Now, none of these things are rocket science. I think you could come up with them as well. Anyone could come up with them. But when you put them all together, I think it paints a really, really good picture. So number 1 for me was Elias Lindholm. He has played against Draisaitl and McDavid for years and years, given the Battle of Alberta. And Lindholm is starting to come into his game. He's starting to play a lot better, not only in the face-off circle, but defensively and most importantly, offensively. So I think Elias Lindholm is going to be a major X factor in this series. And I think you can add Nikita Zadorov as a sidebar onto that. He's playing very well, and he also is coming from Calgary. He wasn't in Calgary as long as Lindholm, obviously. So that's number 1 is Lindholm, and 1A is Zadorov. The second thing I said is going to be an X factor, or a way the Canucks beat the Oilers, or a key to the series. How does the Canucks goaltending hold up? Is it Sheloves to start? Is it DeSmith? Is it Demko? When does Demko get back? Does Demko get back? So not only is it a very intriguing storyline in terms of the Canucks lineup, obviously how the Canucks goaltending fares is going to have a massive impact on this series. Number 3 on the flip side is Edmonton's goaltending and defense. We know how good they are up front, but to turn it to the Canucks perspective, the Canucks had trouble scoring against Nashville because Nashville blocked every shot the Canucks took. And then they had a really good defense and an excellent goaltender. I would argue that Nashville's defense and goaltender is better than the Oilers' defense and goaltender. Obviously, the Oilers have much better firepower up front, but I would take Saros over Skinner, and I would take Nashville's defense over Edmonton's defense. So might the Canucks score more, maybe 3 or 4 goals a game as opposed to 1 or 2, because they're playing against technically a weaker team in terms of the back end. So that's another factor. A 4th factor, special teams. Obviously, Canucks got to A, stay out of the box, and B, once they're in the penalty box, you can never stop that power play, that Edmonton Oilers power play, but you got to try and limit the number of chances that they get, or at least, acknowledge that you're going to give up a few. So I think the key really for the Canucks is to stay out of the penalty box. And number 5, Elias Pettersson. I talked about Elias Lindholm was number 1. Elias Pettersson. This is the type of series where if he breaks out, if he does his job defensively, but he might not even have to play against Draisaitl and McDavid. That might fall to JT Miller and Elias Lindholm. So then it should free up Petey to really unleash his offensive game. And I get it. He's not playing with the best line mates ever in Mikheyev and Höglander, but you got to kind of play with the hand that you're dealt with. And it would be an absolute massive X factor for the Canucks if Elias Pettersson starts to up his game, and maybe he has some confidence from contributing to that series clinching goal back on Friday. So my 5 keys among many are Elias Lindholm and Zadorov, but more Lindholm, are the Canucks goaltending, the Canucks special teams, are Edmonton's defense and goaltending. Can we score more on them? And then, of course, waiting for Elias Pettersson to truly leave his mark. Let me know, Canucks fans, if you agree with those ones. Let me know if there's some other factors that you would say are more important. I'd love to read those in the comments below. Tonight, Canucks After Dark, Parker and me at 10 o'clock. Hope you join us. And then 11:15, a more lighter games night as I continue to revel and celebrate in the fact that I have finished all my studies. I have obtained my Master of Arts in Pastoral Theology from the Augustine Institute. That's where I was this weekend in Denver for my graduation. So Canucks fans, let me know what you think. What are the keys to beating the Edmonton Oilers for you? Shout out to my sponsors, Van State Experts Real Estate, Perform and Transform Personal Training and Weight Loss. Thank you, legendary Lucas Gates, legendary Carol Bovenlander, legendary Andrew Chang for your support, and thanks to Hall of Fame and franchise members as well. And thanks to all of you for watching, liking, and subscribing. On your way out, do those things. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can leave a donation, become a member, upgrade your membership, and leave a comment down below your keys to a Canucks victory over the Oilers. Hope to see you tonight at 10 p.m. for Canucks After Dark, 11:15 p.m. for my own games night on my own channel. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. God bless, and go Canucks go.